So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to pick up leaves using the power flow bagger on your John Deere tractor. Normally in the fall, I use a leaf sweeper to do this, which works way better. I was out of town for 2 weeks here and kind of came back to some heavy leaf coverage. As you can see, it's pretty thick. I wouldn't normally recommend letting it get this bad. And again, I normally use a leaf sweeper for this, but that's kind of broken at the time. So here we are with the bagger. Now with heavy leaves, you obviously get a lot of buildup on the deck and in the intake there. Again, I really wouldn't recommend this method, but I was lazy with the leaf sweeper and the leaves are on the ground, so here we go. First step is to remove those bags from the bagger. Just throw those off to the side for now. That's not going to be part of this first step here, and just kind of close and lock the lid there. Another recommendation I would make is that you lift up the deck. And you just want to raise it up so that you are sucking in maximum amounts of leaves. Again, if it's really thick, you're going to need your deck brought up quite a bit. So here we go with step one, which is a light mulching of the existing leaves that are on the ground. The purpose of this step is to pretty much make the leaves smaller, give them kind of a light chop so that they're a little more dense and they can be picked up more easily. If you have ever tried to pick up thick amounts of leaves without doing any sort of pre-treatment like this, you'll quickly learn that they kind of gum up everything. Your chute will clog really fast, and it's constantly emptying your bagger and disconnecting your chute and kind of dislodging packed in leaf debris so that it actually works. So what this first step is doing is really just trying to give you kind of a light mulching to make it easier to pick up in the future. They're not going to be so small that you won't be able to pick them up, but they will be gone over one time so that it decreases the amount of time you actually have to stop and empty your bagger, but it doesn't chop them up fine enough that you're missing a whole lot of material that way either. It's also worth mentioning that in this step you really aren't trying to do a super awesome thorough job, so you're really kind of running with a fairly fast ground speed. You're not really trying to take too much caution around trees and obstacles and stuff. You're just trying to cover as much area in as little amount of time as possible, just really trying to get that first cut, get everything mulched as you can. Again, don't spend too much time. There will be multiple passes after this. This is a very quick first run effort. And here we are after step one. You can see that everything has been gone over for the most part. Everything has a light chop to it, a light mulching. Obviously it looks a little bit better and doesn't have the thick blanket coverage as it did before, but we still have a ways to go. Again, the purpose in this first step is to just make the leaves smaller. And that leads us into step number two. I usually do this with a leaf blower. I've got a backpack blower, and I just go around to all the solid objects and kind of clear the leaves out. It's really hard to get close to these things, just in general for mowing. It's even more difficult to get the deck in there nice and tight when you're trying to pick up leaves. So I have found that it's just much faster to grab the blower, quickly go around to all your solid objects, planters, landscape rocks, anything like that that's going to make it difficult. Just blow the leaves, take one lap around the object, blow the leaves out so that you don't have to make as tight of a pass. And again, speed is critical here, so you don't want to waste too much time maneuvering around obstacles. At this stage, you really just want to blow out those leaves so you can quickly drive by and suck up as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And here I am just running up and down the driveway again, just kind of trying to blow those leaves back into the yard, make them a little bit easier to pick up. So a few trips up and down the driveway kind of pushes everything back and makes that a little bit easier to do. So after we have that finished up, this is what we are looking like after step two. All the leaves are mulched once, and all the trees and solid objects have the leaves blown away from the base of them. We're looking good. And we're on to step number three, which is bags back on. And we are just going around and collecting the leaves that we have mulched up. Again, if you try to just do this step without doing any of those first two, you're quickly going to find that your bagger fills almost instantly, and you're going to have to empty it nearly constantly. You might be able to make half a lap around the yard before you're full. And if you don't realize that you're full and you keep going, it's just going to pack leaves into the power flow chute, and it's you're going to have to manually unclog that thing every single time that you empty your bags. So again, those first two steps are critical. You're still going to have to hop off like I'm doing here, but you're going to be able to get a few laps around the yard, and that light chop on that first pass really makes it easier to pick up a lot more leaves without having to stop nearly as frequently, which is really the main goal of this entire process. So here is kind of where I'm dumping the leaves. I'm fortunate in that I just have woods off to the side of the yard, so that's really easily done. You just dump them there, and then I come back with a leaf blower later and kind of disperse the pile and just kind of blow it deeper into the woods, and it's really not a big deal. So here we are again, just making multiple passes. I would emphasize that speed is still key at this stage. My deck is still lifted, so I'm cutting, or not even cutting, but mulching rather, in an elevated deck setting. I'm probably around 3.5, maybe even 4. Again, having the deck nice and tight to the ground really isn't crucial at this stage, just because there are so many leaves still on the ground that you're still trying to pick up. So, you know, again, just leave that deck in the higher position. It'll still be fine. It'll still suck up a ton of leaves. You're not going to have any issues with it. You know, at this stage, this is an area out by the street that I'm just kind of running over real quick. Again, making a few passes. You'll see the first pass does a pretty good job, and then I'm coming back and I'm quickly going to do a second pass here. Now you might be wondering, are those custom LED headlights that I have in the tractor? And the answer is yes, of course they are. That's a very easy mod, and I'd highly recommend it. I'll probably make a video about doing that later. Super easy to do. Really awesome results. So after step 3, we still have a few leaf chunks hanging around on the yard there. Overall, we're still looking pretty good, drastic improvement. But this leads us into step 4, which is the final bagging. What I like to do for this step is to just drop that deck back down to a normal height, somewhere in the 3-inch range. That's going to give you a little more suction power and really kind of get the last of these leaves, and that's really going to kind of finish off the whole job and give you a much nicer result that's going to look a little bit better. During the fall in my house, you can see how many leaves are still on the trees. This is an every weekend type deal, so you're going to be doing this quite a bit. Here we have the finished results of the yard after those passes, and you can see everything is pretty much cleaned up for the most part. It, you know, overall looks pretty good, but as you can see in the trees, there's still quite a few leaves that need to come down yet. So at my house, this is not a, you know, once a fall type cleanup session. This is more like, you know, weekly maintenance that you need to do, but I don't recommend letting it build up. Try to stay on top of it. You'll have much better results. All right, so that is how to clean up leaves in your yard using the power flow bagger on the John Deere tractor. It's important to state once again that I don't really recommend that you use this method. I like to use a leaf sweeper. That works really well for me. Mine happens to be broken this fall. I've got a gear that's you know, not engaging, so I was kind of forced into doing this method. If you have a $2,000 leaf, you know, pull behind leaf vacuum grinder type apparatus, that's awesome, and I'm super jealous. But it's more, if you're going to clean up leaves using a power flow bagger, maybe think about doing it this way. Again, if you don't do any of the initial steps, you're going to fill your bags instantly, you're going to clog your chute, you're going to have to empty it constantly, and it's just kind of a bad deal all around. So if you're going to use a power flow bagger to clean up leaves, try this method. Let me know if it works for you. And remember, regardless of how good a job you do in the fall of cleaning up your yard and cleaning up all those leaves before the snow, it's going to look like crap in the spring if you have oak trees that drop leaves all winter long. So don't worry about it too much. Give me a like, maybe a subscribe if you like the channel. More content coming your way. Thanks.